On August 22, 634, Abu Bakr dies and Umar al-Khattab becomes the new caliph of the Rashidun Caliphate. According to the will of his predecessor, he was to continue the conquest of Mesopotamia and Syria, but not everything was so simple. The fact is that after Khalid al-Walid, along with most of his army, left Mesopotamia and went to fight the Byzantine Empire in Syria, the position of the Arab troops in the region deteriorated significantly. Under the pressure of the Persian army, which took advantage of the weakening of the Caliphate garrisons in the region, the Arabs had to leave almost all previously conquered territories in Mesopotamia and concentrate on defending their own borders. To rectify the situation, Caliph Umar urgently sent additional forces to Mesopotamia, led by Abu Ubaidah. Abu Ubaidah planned to defeat the Persian army and regain control over the previously lost territories. Having reached Mesopotamia, the army of the Arab Caliphate on October 22, 634, collided with a large army of the Persians, which was led by Bahman Judayah. Abu Ubaidah decided to attack the enemy as quickly as possible and try to put him to flight. He ordered his army to cross the bridge over the Euphrates River. As soon as the Arab army crossed the river, it was immediately attacked by Persian troops. The Persians sent war elephants to attack in a collision with which Abu Ubaidah died. Having lost their commander, the Arab army faltered and began to hastily retreat. This was taken advantage of by the Persians, who began to pursue the retreating enemy in order to inflict maximum damage on him. In 635, Yazdijerd III made an alliance with the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius to jointly resist the Arab invasion. To consolidate the military alliance, Yazdijerd married the daughter of the Byzantine Emperor. Immediately after the conclusion of the alliance, Yazdijerd begins to gather a large army to push the Arabs back into the depths of the Arabian Peninsula. Meanwhile, Caliph Umar also began to raise an army in Medina. He planned to personally command the army, but the elders convinced him that during the war on two fronts, it was better for him to stay in the capital. Therefore, Sa'd Abu Waqqas, who was a fairly experienced military leader, was appointed commander of the new army. The Arab army led by Sa'd left Medina in May 636 and began a campaign to take possession of Mesopotamia. On December 2, 636, in the vicinity of Qadisiyah, the Arab army clashed with the Persian army under the command of Rostam Farrukhzad. By the time the battle began, the Persian army numbered about 40,000 soldiers, and the Persians also had about 30 war elephants at their disposal. As for the army of the Arab Caliphate, its number was about 30,000 soldiers. Before the battle, the Persian army crossed the Attic Channel and began to form battle formations on its western bank. According to available data, a significant part of the Persian army consisted of mercenaries, who were chained before the battle so that they could not retreat. The Persians divided their army into three parts, reinforcing each of them with war elephants. As for the Arabs, they also divided their army into three parts and lined up in front of the enemy's battle formations. The attack was launched by the Arabs. When the Arabs approached the battle formations of the Persians, the battle elephants entered the battle on the towers of which the archers were located. The attack of the war elephants turned out to be quite effective, as they were able to crush the battle formations of the advancing Arabs. Following the war elephants, the Persian horsemen went on the attack. Unable to withstand the joint onslaught of the Persian cavalry and war elephants, the Arab cavalry began to retreat. The Persian war elephants continued their offensive, as a result of which they managed to penetrate deeply into the ranks of the Arab infantry, which, unlike the cavalry, did not retreat, but began to fight fiercely with the war elephants. During the battle, the Arabs tried to hit the war elephants in unprotected places. In the end, unable to rout the infantry of the Caliphate, the Persian elephants had to retreat and return to their original positions. With the onset of darkness, both armies began to prepare for a new battle, which was to begin the next day. During the night, the army of the Caliphate received reinforcements sent by the Caliph from Syria, which allowed it to make up for the losses suffered on the first day of the battle. Since the towers of many elephants were damaged on the first day of the battle and it took time to restore them, the war elephants could not take part in the second day of the battle. The Arab army took advantage of this. For a new attack, they used camels on the backs of which were placed archers. The Arab cavalry, together with archers on camels, attacked the enemy on the morning of the second day. Persian heavy horsemen came out to meet the enemy, planning to put him to flight. Unfortunately for the Persians, the counter-blow of their cavalry could not overturn the enemy, as the horses were simply frightened by the unusual sight and smell of camels. For this reason, the Persian cavalry, after a short skirmish, was forced to retreat. In turn, the Arab cavalry continued to move and attacked the ranks of the Persian infantry. The Persian infantry managed to withstand the onslaught of the Arab cavalry, after which a bloody battle ensued. The battle continued until dusk, but having not achieved the desired result, the Arabs were forced to retreat to their original positions. On the third day, the Persians were again able to use war elephants. To make their use more effective, the commander of the Persian army assigned foot and cavalry soldiers to support the advance of the war elephants. The attack was launched by the Persian army. When the war elephants reached the ranks of the enemy, a bloody battle ensued. The Arab infantry acted as efficiently as possible that day, which allowed it to hit the eyes of the elephants that were in the forefront. The wounded animals turned sharply and ran back, upsetting the battle formations of the Persians. Despite this, the Persian infantry did not flinch and, having reached the ranks of the enemy, they were able to engage in hand-to-hand combat. As a result of a long bloody battle, the Persians did not succeed in putting the Arabs to flight. In this situation, the commander of the Persian army ordered his people to retreat and form a dense battle formation consisting of 2 lines of infantry. In the third line were archers who fired at the enemy while being safe. In turn, the Arabs, having regrouped, attacked the battle formation of the Persians, but their attack also failed to put the enemy to flight. The bloody battle continued until the evening, and with the onset of darkness, the opponents returned to their original positions. In the early morning of the fourth day, the Arabs, having formed a battle formation, began the attack. The army of the Caliphate sent the main blow to the center of the enemy troops, which was attacked by most of the Arab detachments. Despite the fierce attack of the Arabs, the ranks of the Persian infantry withstood their onslaught. A fierce hand-to-hand fight began. After some time, a gale-force wind arose, which carried sand and dust right into the face of the Persian infantry. This was taken advantage of by the Arabs, who, by exerting their pressure, were able to break the battle formation of the center of the Persian army. The center of the Persian army began to move back, but its flank still held back the onslaught of the Arabs. At this time, a detachment of Arab horsemen was able to break through to the headquarters of the Persian commander. Rostam himself died in battle, and the battle banner of the Sassanids fell into the hands of the Arabs. The death of the commander broke the morale of the Persian army, which began to hastily retreat. The retreating Persians tried to cross to the other side of Attica, but many of them drowned in the river. The Persian mercenaries, who were pinned down before the battle, could not retreat and were killed by the army of the Arab Caliphate. After the defeat near al-Qadisiyyah, the remnants of the Persian army lost their combat effectiveness, and the army of the Arab Caliphate, despite the fact that it suffered serious losses in the battle, was able to continue the offensive. The army of the Caliphate continued the offensive, establishing control over the cities of Mesopotamia. The main goal of the Arab army after the victory at al-Qadisiyyah was Babylon, which was a beautifully fortified fortress city with an important strategic position. The Arabs were well aware that in order to launch an attack on the capital of Sasanian Persia, the city of Ctesiphon, they first needed to capture Babylon and establish control over the territories between the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. By mid-December 636, the Arab army had camped under the walls of Babylon. The city was defended by the Persian garrison, but it was clearly not enough to resist the Arab army. The situation was aggravated by the fact that after the defeat at al-Qadisiyyah, the Persians had practically no large forces left in Mesopotamia, so the Babylonian garrison was well aware that help would not come. In this situation, the commander of the Babylon garrison decided to leave the city and retreat to the province of Ahwaz. After the Persian troops left the city, the locals opened the gates to the Arabs and surrendered, in exchange for a promise to save their lives and property. Special mention deserves the fact that many residents of Babylon began to cooperate with the Arab army by providing it with information about the movement of the Persian army. After the occupation of Babylon, the Arabs poisoned most of their army to pursue the retreating Persian detachments so that they could not gather together to resist the army of the Arab Caliphate. The rest of the Arab detachments were engaged in establishing control over the territory between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. After the victory at al-Qadisiyyah, and also after the occupation of Babylon, the Arab troops managed to establish control over almost all of Mesopotamia. Moreover, the army of the Arab Caliphate had the opportunity to strike at the very heart of the Sassanid Empire, the capital city of Ctesiphon. In turn, the Persians began to hastily gather forces in order to have time to gather enough troops for the defense of Ctesiphon. The fact is that the Persians were well aware that the loss of the capital would not only deprive the Sassanids of the opportunity to regain control over Mesopotamia, but also call into question the existence of the Persian state. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so you don't miss new videos.